What happens if we want to do less than 140 millimeters? That's where the other two tools come in. Let's look at them. These are the Festool PAVL, and these allow us to do cuts from 10 millimeters up to 230 millimeters, and these just simply clamp underneath the rail and allowing us to cut this increment here. To install them, turn the rail over. Now it's always best doing this with these fitted, so I've tried to do it without these fitted, and these green clamps do get in our way. Make sure that you have the scale facing inwards, so these are handed, and that just simply slots on top of this threaded tower here, slots in there, and then it's only a matter of dropping in the knob. Again, this piece onto here, drop that in, and then simply drop that down to length. And that's what it looks like. Once you've got that, your stops slide onto this end here, and we'll set those to an arbitrary measurement, something like 100 millimeters. Doesn't matter, because we're going to calibrate these, no matter what that length is, as long as they're both set to the same length. Set that to 100 millimeters. I think you can just see this. In fact, I'm going to set these to 50 millimeters so you can see it clearly on the camera. Now again, we need to calibrate these, but this time we're not measuring from the stop to the splinter guard. We're actually measuring from the stop to the outside edge of the teeth, because that's where the outside cut is going to be. So when the TS55 is on the rail, we're measuring this side from the stop to one of the teeth. So we bring it into position, get the depth stop out the way, and just use the blade change to set this thing up. So I can now lift the splinter guard up. The distance from the outside edge of my teeth to the stop should be 50 millimeters. So we can use a simple rule to measure that. Can you see that? Okay. Now this measurement here from the outside of the tooth to that stop is about 51 millimeters. So I just want to adjust that because we want that to be 50 millimeters. These two are our adjusters. This is the standard Allen key that comes with the TS55 5mm hex or 5mm Allen key, and once you've undone these two knobs here, you can see this has some play in it, and that can now slide backwards and forwards. So we go to the outside of the tooth and we just adjust this until it reads exactly 50 millimeters, and at that point we can lock this down. Just nip it up slightly, measure that, and then lock it into place. And that is now calibrated. We then use exactly the same technique to calibrate the second one. So we loosen the knob, loosen the clamp underneath, and slide this one up until the two guides touch. Lock it into place, and if you can see, that one there is slightly out of line with the one we've just calibrated. So we're now just going to bring those two into calibration. Simple as undoing the 5mm hex. Now you can see I've then got movement, and I just simply line up those two faces. Nip down on the 5mm bolts, make sure that that's lined up, happy with that, and then tighten it. So these are now calibrated for use on this cut as well. And again, that's a one-time activity. They're similar to use to the other ones. Once again, we are going to slacken off, undo the clamp, and slide this one down to the end of the board. Lock it down and lock the clamp. Take the other one. Ooh, loosen this off. Undo the clamp at the back, slide it down, take our board again, and we'll just drop a couple of millimeters off this cut. Exactly the same as before, we set it up for the width of the board, the material we're going to cut. Not got to be precise. Lock the clamps down. Once you've got the width set, we just now set these stops to where we want it to be. So let's go for, oh, I don't know. Let's try 2mm. That 5. 2mm that side, and we'll go for just like 2mm on that side. Push the rail up so the stops are tight against the edge. And that should now give me a 2mm cut. Slide it off the edge of my workbench just to protect it, and we'll cut this exactly the same way using the TS55. And there we have it. And that's what it's for. You can see how narrow that is, a couple of millimeters wide. And that will be fantastic for a veneer on an edge band. So, pretty much it. That is the Festool parallel guide system. So exactly for doing that, it's for cutting things down to width. It can take incredibly small cuts. If I wanted to, I could now start to cut this to length. Just turn this entire guide round, set the width or the length that I wanted on the parallel guides, and I can then chop multiple pieces. Nothing more to say really. It does the job well. True Festool style. Hope it's been useful. See you next time.